All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to On the Clock Baseball. I am joined once again by our good friend Dakota Ezra, Mariners fan, baseball fan. Dakota, how you doing?
Good, Brandon. Thanks for having me on, dude.
Absolutely, man. Dude, there's so much stuff we got to talk about today because the off-the-field stuff has been crazy in the past 48 hours. If you haven't been paying attention, just wait because we're going to get on into it. But before we do that, I want to do a quick check of the standings, see where things are at, because there's kind of some unexpected stuff that's happened in the last couple of weeks. I mean, who would have predicted the Brewers not only to surpass the Cubs, but bury them in such short time? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Did you
quick
see the
side
Brewers
note
come
on
out like
that.
this?
Quick side on that. Did you see the stats on Kyle Tucker since the
Yes.
All-Star break?
Yes, that's the other
Yeah.
thing that's crazy is you look at Kyle Tucker. It's been over a month now since his last home run. The Cubs just announced this morning, and as recording this, they're going to give him a couple days off to reset.
Not a good look.
The amount of money that this man is potentially costing himself right now is ridiculous. It's gone from, is this guy going to get Juan Soto, Vlad Jr. money to, is he going to get Matt Chapman money? Like, he's costing himself so much money. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Kyle Tucker, I'm just like off top of my head for contract-wise. I think he won't reach Vlad territory because Vlad has a different mantle, but I think we are still talking 300. I think we're talking a Carlos Correa contract for Kyle Tucker. I think that's a pretty good comp.
And a couple months ago, we were talking maybe closer to Vladdy, not necessarily Vladdy, but closer to it. And now we're talking Carlos Correa money. So, and speaking of that, like here's the weird thing that kind of popped into my head the other day when I was thinking about the Kyle Tucker fall off that nobody's really talking about. That people were talking about this at the time that the Astros traded him. The Astros don't do this. They don't trade guys. They let them walk. So it makes me wonder, did the Astros see something in Kyle Tucker and that's why they traded him to the Cubs? Or is this just a freak fluke?
I think it's a freak fluke. That's a good tongue twister. But first half, Kyle Tucker for the Cubs was a godsend. He was like a better version of Cody Bellinger, and Cody Bellinger was ridiculously good for the Cubs. No, I think Kyle Tucker. I'm loving what's happening right now. The price is coming down. Makes my Seattle Mariners even that more entertaining to try and bid for Kyle Tucker. That's more of a joke to another pod that I follow. But dude, it's the Cubs are in there's so much panic in Cubland and in the organization. I'm not surprised by the player, Brandon. I'm surprised by the organization taking the ball out of his hand. I don't like the look. I think it's a bad look, you know? I don't ever remember them and Sammy Sosa slumping, them taking the ball out of Sammy's hand. I'm not saying Sammy and Kyle Tucker because Sammy's a legend. But can you think off your head?
Sammy Sosa's tenure in Chicago did not end well.
No.
Let's be fair. It did not end well for them. But yeah, the Cubs, I don't know. They were, when Kyle Tucker last homered, the Cubs had an 8-game lead in the division. Now they have, a 12-game lead in the division, I think. An 8 to 12-game lead in the division. Now now they're 8 games back of the Brewers. This is insanity.
That's a 16-game flop.
Yeah. This is insanity that we're seeing.
Oh, man. Poor Cubs fans.
Looking at the National League as a whole, let's start there.
Yeah.
It's Milwaukee, it's Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. And then the wild card is Chicago, San Diego, and the New York Mets hanging on by a thread over the Cincinnati Reds. Who saw this? The Cincinnati Reds creeping up to within a game of a playoff spot. I didn't see that coming.
I'll raise my hand, bro. Like, Cincinnati Reds are busy at the trade deadline. They made a lot of smaller secondhand moves. You know, now that I say that, I'm trying to remember some of the trades they did. They were pretty busy.
Well, we talked about it when we were on the Pesky Trade Line special that Key Brian Hayes, huge pickup for them.
Yep.
Huge.
Great pull.
Yeah, I mean, but like you said, I can't think of the other moves now, but I know there was more. They were busy, and now they're right there, and the Mets are just falling off. And San Diego and Chicago, or San Diego and the Dodgers, they're kind of duking back and forth for first place. Just when San Diego thinks, maybe we're gonna get ahead of this thing, the Dodgers sweep them. So
did you by chance watch that Dodgers game lose to the Rockies and walk off last night?
I didn't watch the whole game, but I watched a lot of the series versus the Padres.
Yeah.
So it's crazy what's going on in the West right now in terms of the National League. I mean, do you think the Padres realistically have a shot at the division at this point?
Yes. Yeah, because Tatis will become Tatis like he does every year. The one thing I will say and I would not have expected me to even bring this up, Jackson Merrill needs to figure out how to clean up the defensive stuff in center field. He dropped a very pivotal ball this last week against that series, and that was a huge like pivoting point. But Padres, they were, Brandon, like you mentioned in the pesky trade deadline show, which was a blast. There was not a team in baseball that was more active than the San Diego Padres. It wasn't even remotely freaking close.
And this might be controversial to say coming off of a series over the weekend where the Dodgers swept the Padres, but I still feel like the Padres want it more.
Yeah.
I feel like the Dodgers are becoming kind of complacent and just buying the pieces and thinking, oh, we've got enough depth where we'll be there. And they're not wrong in that statement. They're going to be in the playoffs, but I feel like the Padres are making a statement of, hey, we can and will compete with you. And I wouldn't doubt they give them a run for their money in a playoff series if they match up again.
Right. I mean, Joe Musgrove, Dylan Cease, and the crew, they can shove. Yu Darvish is a very undervalued piece of that rotation. The dude's like 38 years old and 9 pitches, how many throws. But Mason Miller has changed with that bullpen. Kind of their FU mentality. You get to the bullpen, like I dream for the Mariners to have an FU bullpen with Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, Gabe Spire. No, that's Mason Miller, Robert Suarez, and Tanner Scott's still there, or no? Tanner Scott's a Dodger, but no, that bullpen is pretty deep, and Padres are something to reckon with. So
yeah, and then looking past that, it's St. Louis and San Francisco at 5 and 5.5 back. And then you have Arizona and Miami at 7 and 7.5 back. So like, I look at the National League as it's pretty cut at this point. I mean, flip a coin, the San Francisco Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals could make a run at one of those spots, but it really looks pretty settled. Sans Cincinnati and New York kind of duking it out for that last spot. And that's the National League. Anything else before we move on to the American League?
Yeah, by chance, you heard anything about this Ketel Marte drama?
I've heard that players don't like his attitude, something along those lines.
So I know you're not like a big like football guy. I don't know if you're like a big basketball guy, but like Kawhi Leonard, load management, taking games off, right? He's been load managing all year, like play a game, take 2 days off, play 2 games, take 3 days off. And there was a report, and given it's from Bob Nightingale, it's from Bob Nightingale. Take it for what it's worth. But there was a report from Bob Nightingale that the Diamondbacks are actively and going to be listening for trade offers on Marte. And I'm not surprised because he's like, what, 30?
Yeah. The interesting thing to me there is they just signed him to a new contract.
He's cheap.
So, yeah, it's a cheap contract. It's definitely a tradable contract.
It's like a Acuna deal.
Yeah, it's very interesting that they signed that deal and then they're looking to move him right away. The Diamondbacks are kind of a clusterfuck right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With everything going on there. But moving on to the AL. So it's Detroit, it's the Blue Jays, it's the Astros, and then in the wild card, you got 3 teams tied. As of the time of recording this right now, it'll probably be different by the time you're listening to it. But as the time of recording this, 3 teams tied with the same, they're not back or ahead. It's just tied across the board. Yankees, Red Sox, Mariners are all tied in those wild card spots. The only teams that look remotely threatening right now are the Guardians and the Royals, and they're 3 and 3.5 back respectively. So this thing looks pretty sealed to me in terms of these are the teams that we're probably going to see in the postseason. I can guess how you feel about your Mariners wanting to overtake the Astros, being only a game behind them realistically. And I said it myself on Pesky, and it's a little bit more challenging for the Red Sox to make a run at the Blue Jays, now 5 back of them. But I said it on Pesky the other day, and I stand by this. The Red Sox need to make a run at the division, because with the way that the Red Sox play poorly on the road, with the way that their bullpen falters late in games, if they don't get a bye to rest the bullpen and have home field advantage, they're not long for the playoffs. I don't know if you feel the same way about your Mariners trying to overtake the Astros. So talk about that a little bit. How do you feel about that?
Oh, man. First of all, this has been the road trip from hell. Every year there's one of these things. We went into Baltimore. Slight rant here for a second. I think there is absolutely zero reason why there shouldn't be a roof on every single ballpark. 32 ballparks, 32 roofs. Make it happen. I'm sick and tired of going to Minnesota, going to the Tigers, going to Philadelphia, going to Baltimore, where we have rain delays and weather problems. Like, come on, people. So just want to get that out of the way, because it drives me crazy, man. Like, the last week, we've had 4 rain delays. It's ridiculous. Like, it is. But Baltimore sucks. We lose 2 out of 3. Dean Kramer, Trevor Rogers, Yuki Sagano went against us. We got carved. Just the whole series, we just didn't play very well. The series, which we'll talk about with the Mets, was something to be reckoned with. But, I mean, it's just frustrating, man. Mariners trade deadline, kick ass, get Josh Naylor, get Geno Suarez, get Caleb Ferguson, even though you needed a right-handed arm and a right-handed bat for the lineup. I digress. This team is like, the fans are just trying not to freak the fuck out, Brandon. They're trying, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't play this way. You can't go 9-1 on the homestand, and then we're staring down the barrel of 2-7 on this road trip.
Yeah, I mean, getting credit to the Orioles, though, they've been playing good since June.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't reflect in the standings, but like you said, Sagano's carving the Red Sox up right now as we speak. We're still winning 1-0, but he's pretty much carving us up. And then Rogers did the same thing to us last night, and we lost 6-3. So, I mean, the Orioles, give them their props. They're playing good right now, despite trading off everybody and having pretty much the youngest team in baseball. But talk to me about Suarez, because what's with this cold slump since coming over?
This is part of the Geno experience, man. When Geno's hot, he's hot. He's great. He's an MVP candidate. He hits 5 to 6 dingers in a week. Good vibes only. Life doesn't get any better. And then you get the other side of the Geno Suarez card, where he hits 105. He strikes out almost 45% of the time. He doesn't take walks. And you're sitting there saying, WTF.
Yeah. Man, I look at both of our teams, and I'm like, we got to go for the division. You have a much better shot of it right now than the Red Sox do, but we got to overtake the division, because that still is key here, in my opinion. But it looks like the playoff race is really shaping up, and it's just going to come down to a couple divisional races. Obviously, we'll see what the Guardians and Royals can do. They're only 3 and 3.5 back, so realistically, either of them could make a run and knock some teams out. Texas is 6 back. They could get hot, but they haven't been playing well all year. So I don't fear Texas. And then past that, it's Tampa Bay and the Angels. And I'm kind of like, okay, that's kind of where you draw the line. Yeah. So pretty shaped up there. Anything else about the AL that stands out to you before we move on?
American League wise, there is one thing lingering in the back of my brain that haunts my dreams, and his name is Yordan Alvarez. He could single-handedly, I've listened to a lot of beat reporters, athletic guys from Houston. This season is riding on the shoulders of Yordan Alvarez, which is a scary thing to do. The dude's done it before. He is a monster. We know his talent. Excuse me. But Houston scares me. some team like this is about the same time last year Detroit started getting on their roll. Some team is going to go on a roll and is going to change things. Some teams are going to lose 15 or 10 out of 15 and season's done. You have teams like, the Tigers, like we talked about. Houston's dangerous. I mean, dude, I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of love. People love your Roman Anthony out here on the West Coast. There's a lot of people wishing Jared Connick was Roman Anthony, but you guys are in pretty good hands. So I'll be curious to see what happens down the stretch.
Yeah, and I've got a lot to talk about once we get to the off season about my fears with this roster coming into 2026. But let's get to the playoffs first. Let's get all that past us. Moving on, though, to a little bit of potential off-season news. We did get some Murakami talk the other day. Granted, it came from John Heyman, so I don't particularly trust what he has to say. I mean, the guy's a Boris puppet. But what's interesting to me about this is that Murakami obviously not a Boris client, at least yet. So the fact that John Heyman has any take on this at all or any supposed inside information at all is interesting to me. He named what he believes are the top 4 landing spots for Murakami in 2026 if he does in fact get posted. I'm going to throw a 5th one in there. Before you do that, I'm going to throw a 5th one in there real quick.
Okay.
Because he left off the Yankees. And that to me is ludicrous because Murakami has come out and said himself that he wants West Coast, but he is interested in the Yankees. So I do think the Yankees should probably be number 2 on the list, but they're not on John Heyman's list. So and two of the 4 that I'll say this before you guess them just to kind of give you a hint. One of the 4 I don't believe has a shot in hell at Murakami. One I don't think has a shot, but you can't count out. One I think is the obvious landing spot. And the final one I think is a dark horse landing spot that could work. So with that bit of a hint, who do you think the 4 spots that he named are?
Okay, easy picking, Dodgers.
Yep, Dodgers were his number 2. Which I believe they should be number 1 because it's like the Dodgers, they still have Max Muncy next year, but past that, they're gonna need third base help. Murakami is a Japanese star. They love those guys over there in Dodgerland.
Clearly.
And that to me is just like the most obvious, especially with the looming lockout and salary cap potentially coming in 2027. The Dodgers are going to want to make a play like this to grandfather him in. So, this could be their last chance to do something like that and grandfather some of these big contracts in. So I see the Dodgers making a major play. I see them as the front runners. They're John Heyman's number 2, however.
Okay. I don't know why I'm going to guess this. I know it's probably wrong. Angels?
Not.
Okay. My last 2 guesses will be for third base. I'll guess Seattle, but it's not going to be on the list.
Seattle is his number 1. And Seattle is the team that I see as the dark horse because it is West Coast, so it makes sense. The big thing to me, and it's a perfect fit. He would be a beautiful fit in Seattle.
Yeah.
It's just, does your owner want to spend money is my big concern.
Right.
But I mean, that's why I see Seattle as the dark horse, because if you guys want to spend money, it makes perfect sense. It's a perfect fit and you guys could pull it off. But it's all dependent on whether you guys want to spend the money or not, which in the past you haven't done.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's Julio or Luis Castillo, gave some money to Robbie Ray, stuff like that. But the RSN, which is a conversation we'll have in the offseason, that's going to change a lot of money. That's going to be changed hands, the CBA, all that jazz. Last team, there is a team in no shot in hell. Wouldn't be the Rockies, not going to be the Pirates. Wouldn't be the Cardinals. They don't sign anybody like that. Would it be the Cubs?
No. So his 3 and 4, which you didn't get, 3 is the Mets. And Don't think it's going to happen. They are a New York team, so if he's interested in the Yankees, chances are he'd be willing to at least listen to the Mets. And we know Cohen's got money. Cohen likes to do crazy things. I just don't see it as a huge fit. And the number 4, the one that I say has no chance in hell, is the Red Sox. And I say that not because they don't have the money to spend, but because of the way they've treated Yoshida. And I've been on this take for a year and a half now. You can't sign players from Japan when you treat Yoshida like this. Roki Sasaki famously last offseason met with every team that wanted to meet with him except for the Red Sox. Now, he was always going to be a Dodger, in my opinion. Like, that was never a question, but he respectfully granted meetings to 13 or 14 other teams that wanted to meet with him except for the Red Sox. He didn't even give them a meeting, and they asked for one. And I largely believe that's because of the way they've treated Yoshida, and I believe that's a trend that's going to continue. So I just don't see it.
For what it's worth, Brandon, the same report came out here in Seattle that the Mariners were there, they engaged, they never heard back from Roki's agent.
Huh.
Which is weird because Mariners were really heavily rumored in the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes, but there were some legit reports, like guys that I'd put money on. They were like, yeah, they never even talked. Like, that's disappointing. But
yeah, it's
Murakami's fascinating, man. His stats from this year are not that good, though. It surprises me. His strikeout
been having a down year.
Bad. Yeah.
He was injured part of the year. I've been watching a lot of NPB ball, so I've seen him play quite a bit. He's been injured for part of the year. He's striking out a lot more, but and that's led a lot of people to think that maybe he waits another year. I personally think he still posts this year just because he knows the lockout's probably coming. I mean, there's probably like, hey, you want to maximize your dollar amount, do it before a potential salary cap. Because even if he has to take a little bit of loss on money with the down year this year, it's nothing in comparison to the potential money he's leaving on the table if he waits for the salary cap to potentially be implemented. So I still see him getting posted this offseason.
Same.
That's something that we'll be covering a lot this offseason. Where does he fall? That's going to be a huge, huge story. But then the thing that we're going to potentially end the pod here on, but this is going to take a while to dissect, is the now Rob Manfred comments about a potential restructuring of the MLB. And before we get into what was said and what we think about it, I just want to say this is a long time coming when you look at the dominoes over the last couple of decades. We'll start with when you and I were growing up, Dakota. Interleague play was something that happened for 2-3 weeks in the middle of the summer, and then you never heard of it again.
Like August time, yeah.
Yeah, it was August or around or somewhere around before or after the All-Star break. It was this little kind of interesting thing that we did, and it was fun and quirky and promotional and whatever. And you didn't see all the teams like you do now. Like, if you were in the East, you saw the NL East or the AL East. If you were in the West, you saw a lot of the West teams there. And there were some exceptions, of going into the Central or out West if you're in the East, but it was largely geographically constructed in a way that made sense. And it was really more of a promotional thing. And then the Astros moved leagues. They went from the NL to the AL, which made the odd number of teams in each league. And then you said, okay, now we have to have interleague play every day or some team's going to get a bye. And you can't have buys in baseball all the time like that. It just doesn't make sense. So It became interleague play every day. And then a couple of years ago, 3 things simultaneously happened. And when these 3 things happened, I, hand up, looked at these 3 things happening and said, they are conditioning us to move to a conference structure. And I was called crazy at the time when I said this 2-3 years ago. But the 3 things that happened, they went, okay, not only are we going to have interleague play every day, but every team has to play every team at least once a season. And they did this under the preset of, like, we want to make sure that teams get a chance to see the stars. We want to make sure that the Brewers get to see Mike Trout. We want to make sure that the Orioles get to see Shohei Ohtani. We want to make sure that what just happened with your Mariners, the Mariners get to see Bryce Harper. Like, that was their reasoning for doing it. The second thing they did right at the same time is they expanded the playoffs from 10 to 12 teams. And the third thing that happened is they started talking about expansion of the league. And when those three things happened, I said, okay, we're going to be in a conference structure by 2030. And I was called crazy at the time. And now here we are, a couple years later, Rob Manfred openly talking about the possibility of it on Sunday Night Baseball with ESPN. Dakota, how do you feel about this?
How do I feel about this, man? There's a couple different ways I go with this. Man, for me, being out here on the West Coast, Southeast Alaska, for most people that think Seattle is in Alaska, it's a running joke for a lot of people in the country. I love the fact. I'll say how should I frame this? I love the nature, the idea of what he's doing, right? Because we travel more than any team in the freaking country, like air miles. It's ridiculous, right? But because granted, everything's far away from like Seattle and far away from Washington and stuff like that, as far as MLB. I want teams like, if I was for me, right? If I'm thinking, all right, if I want the Mariners to be in a region thing, what teams realistically would they play? You go Oakland, right? Oakland / Vegas, which will be Vegas. So we'll go Vegas, San Francisco, Angels, like geographically speaking, Brandon, it makes sense. But wouldn't this like screw over teams like the Phillies? Like, you really want to be in the same division, like Phillies, Mets, Red Sox, Yankees?
That division would go crazy, though. Let's be honest. Like, that would be one of the toughest divisions or conferences in all of baseball. So
would that make it top heavy?
Yeah. So again, this isn't what it would necessarily be. This is what just Jim Bowden, who again, he's another guy that I don't put a lot of stock in, proposed. So it would be East Conference, like you said, Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, Phillies. North Conference, Reds, Guardians, Tigers, Blue Jays. Mid-Atlantic Conference, Orioles, Pirates, Nationals, and a Charlotte expansion team. Southeast, Braves, Marlins, Rays, and a Nashville expansion team. And then you have out west, you have the Midwest, Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Twins. Southwest, Astros, Royals, Cardinals, Rangers. Pacific Coast, Rockies, Athletics, Mariners, Giants. And West, Diamondbacks, Angels, Dodgers, Padres. That's the proposed conference by Jim Bowden, who, again, I don't take a lot. I think you could move some things around in there that would make a little bit more sense. But on a whole, I don't hate this idea.
I don't either.
It depends on how they choose to structure it. Because to me, and I know this, like, as much as I used to be a baseball traditionalist, like, I used to hate these rule changes, I've come to accept them. I've come to be like, okay, I can see it. Like we talked the last time, I'm all for the automated ball and strike system, because that was just absolute fire in the All-Star game, the little bit that we saw of it and in spring training. But I look at it as the AL and national leagues don't mean what they used to mean. Like, you don't have the pitcher anymore. It's all DH across the league. You have interleague every day of the season, and the All-Star game doesn't count for home field advantage anymore. So to me, the American League, National League structure, it doesn't mean shit to me anymore. When we were growing up, there was a clear-cut difference between these two leagues. You didn't see the other league except for that 3-week set where you had some interleague play. You didn't. One league had DH, one league did not. The All-Star game, it counted for home field advantage in the World Series.
Right, it meant something.
Now it's like who fucking cares? So like, I'm 100% behind the idea of this if it's structured right. And I have been really since I floated the idea 3 years ago and was called crazy. I'm like, this just makes sense with the way that baseball is moving, especially when you look at the expanded playoffs. Because the expanded playoffs right now, again, doesn't mean shit to me when the division winner with the lowest record is going to have to play in the wild card series. That doesn't make sense to me. The Brewers got fucked by it 2 years in a row.
Yep.
Like, they won their division, they didn't get a bye, and then they get eliminated in the wild card. Like, to me, that makes right now, like, I hate this playoff structure. I want it to go back to 10 teams. I really do. But if you're going to make a conference out of it, makes a little bit more sense. But for the way it's structured right now, the playoffs don't make sense to me. So I'm like, okay, let's do this.
To me, like, I don't know if you're like a college football guy, I make a lot of like cross sport comparisons. The way that Major League Baseball has orchestrated the new playoff format is very similar to how college football is like, oh, it used to be 6 teams. Now it's 12 because more teams is more money and more money is good things. And there's nothing bad. And I'm like, if you make the playoffs, it's because you earned it, right? Not saying that any of these teams like luck into this shit. You and I both know it doesn't work like that, right? You got a 160 game freaking grind, right? I just don't like, it's like, it feels like a participation trophy of a playoff seeding. And it's like, oh, well, you technically weren't as good as the first seed, but because you were 2 games different, we'll still let you play. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
So if we were to not go to a conference structure, here is my playoff proposal that it solves 2 things. It solves the more games that they want, and it solves a better chance in the wild card. You go back to 10 teams, so you get your division winners and 2 wild card teams from each league. Okay? Wild card series, best 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Then from there, you go division series, best 3 out of 5. AL/NL championship, best 4 out of 7, as it is. And then you really want to get more money, more involvement, World Series, best 5 out of 9. It makes each round of the playoffs up the stakes by a couple of games. You want more games, you want more revenue. That to me is your simple, like, keep it competitive, but still get more games, more money, all of that stuff in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to remember where I heard this from. I think it was somebody for The Athletic for baseball. I'll try to remember. I'll send it to you. It was fascinating, the revenue breakdown of playoffs. Like the net money per game based upon like the round that you were in. It's crazy, Brandon. Like just like a wild card game, it was like an average of $1 million a game in net revenue is what these teams were making because of TV deals and all of the extra parking, bumped up prices, stuff like that. But 5 out of 9 seems a little bit much on initial reaction, right? Because it's like, oh, well, we're talking about possibly playing 9, like, let's see here, 3, 8, 17. You're talking about playing almost 20 playoff games. If you win it, you're going to play 20 games. That's a grind. I mean, if you're going to earn it, you're going to earn it. There's no other higher achievement in professional baseball, right?
It just seems like that's what they want. They want more games. They want to draw this thing out, and I'm like, okay, then draw it out in a way that makes sense. And you want to motivate teams to spend. You want to motivate teams to be good. Restructure the pay down of money so it's not just playoff teams that get money. But you can structure it where obviously the playoff teams get the most money of the revenue share. But then you could have this thing where teams that go above 500 get more of a cut of the revenue share than the teams that finish under 500.
I agree with that.
There's so many ways to fix this beyond what they're doing. And I don't know how I feel about the way things are going. Like I said, I don't hate the conference structure. There's so much crazy shit that Manfred has done that I don't like. Lately, there's been some stuff he's done that I do like, and I feel weird saying that. But this, and especially with some expansion, I wouldn't hate it. Like, I do think the league does need to expand at this point as well. If anything, we need to get at least one more team per league, just so that it's an even number of teams per league again. I think that's important. But yeah, I don't know.
Can I ask you kind of an odd question since we're like on this?
Absolutely.
Do you think, because Jeff Passan got asked this question today, and I was like, I don't really know how I fucking think about this. Is there space in Major League Baseball for 62 more players? Or whatever, the 26 and 26 for 52? Like, is there space? Is there that many legitimate players that if you brought them up from AAA would be worthy enough of being promoted to have the product? Because, like, for an example, and I'm not trying to be like disrespectful to teams that are in different stages of rebuilds, right? You look at teams like Pittsburgh, you look at teams like the Rockies, the Marlins, even though the Marlins have been playing great baseball, right? But these teams that have been promoting a bunch of young kids, and I was just like, is there really that many young players that could be fantasy or like whatever the correct term draft is, right? A supplemental draft, right? That would allow this to be worth the time. Because, like, granted, we're seeing more and more young kids come up. Nick Kurtz, Roman Anthony, obviously Paul Skeens, Kyle Stowers, these kids coming up that are taking the mantle and taking the spotlight, right? I just ask myself, is there that much talent ready to rock?
My logical answer is yes, with a caveat. That caveat is that these expansion teams, these young teams, are not going to be as good out of the gate. It's going to be similar to what we saw the last time the league expanded. You get teams that aren't as good out of the gate, but still competitive enough to compete. My fear with it is that some of these teams then take the route of, oh, hey, we don't have to be that good. I mean, look at the last expansion teams. They haven't been great. I mean, the Marlins won 2 World Series pretty quickly, and then they've just kind of been the laughing stock, right? Rockies.
They drafted exceptionally well with the young Marlins, but yeah.
Rockies. Look at where they're at. Tampa Bay Rays. They're always kind of right there, but they're the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
And I mean, so, like, to me, it's like
look at Baltimore.
You're gonna get, although Baltimore has more history. And I think what was the fourth team the last one was the Diamondbacks, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, so like look at where those teams are. The Diamondbacks are starting to actually build something. Obviously, they won a World Series pretty early on as well. So like those things can happen with these things. And like the thing too is like once you get this young talent on the roster, some teams might be willing to trade you some of their veteran players for some of that talent to stick back in the minor leagues and continue to develop. So like it is 100% possible for 2 teams. I think there's enough talent across the rosters to split it up. Plus, you have free agents and things like that, and it's going to be 1 or 2 years of kind of iffy baseball, maybe, and then they're going to really be able to start to fill out a team. I feel like, and that's kind of what we saw the last time. So I'm going to say yes. There's 100% enough talent, and I just like. I think that the league needs, like I said, even number. I would like to see it expanded. If we were to keep it to a league structure, which it looks like we're going to conference, I'd like to see an extra team eventually added to each division to make 6 teams a division, but that would take years of planning and everything else. But it looks like we're going to go to a conference structure, so adding 2 teams and making 4-team conferences does make the most sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you say like, and I think that right now, to go back to your original question, right now is the best time in the history of baseball to do this,
What makes
because
you say that?
the young talent that is continually drafted and comes up. High school and even college level baseball players are at a level of talent unlike we've seen before in the game. And the amount of players coming out of the DR, out of the KBO and the NPB are unlike what we've seen before. Even Cuba, Venezuela, Mexico. Like there are players coming from all over the place right now with legit talent. Some of it's raw and needs to be refined, but we have more talent of baseball right now than we've ever had in, I would say, in the history since baseball's been playing in the late 1800s. The talent pool is so thick. And then you look at all of the independent leagues that go on across the country. You could pull from there. Some of these guys might get a shot. I mean, you see big league teams pull from there all the time, and these guys hardly ever make the majors. But like, I look at somebody like a Zach Kelly, who I believe was taken from one of these indie leagues. He was with the Angels organization. They cut him loose, went to one of these leagues. The Red Sox took him. He's been getting shots with the Red Sox. Not that good, in my opinion, but for an expansion team, they'd take that. Right? They would go grab some of these guys. And so I just think that the talent pool is there. Once they get past that initial draft, then they are also into the normal drafts like everybody else. The ability to get from the DR and Venezuela and do the international signing stuff. They're allowed to be in on the NPB and KBO free agents that are posted in the offseason. So then they have as much of a chance as everybody else to get these players. Now, are they going to spend the money to get these players? I don't know, because they're a new expansion team. But if let's say that hypothetical, there's an expansion team that was in 2025, and there was 32 teams playing right now. Let's say Nashville and Charlotte, because those were the ones that were on the Jim Bowden's graphic. And they're playing in 2025. They're mediocre. They're around 500. They're not that great, but this is their first year in the league. If I'm one of those two teams, I'm looking at Kyle Tucker right now, licking my chops, going, we could potentially get him for cheap. Or not cheap, but cheaper than what he was going to be. And what kind of statement do you want to make? If you're a brand new team, you look at a guy like Kyle Tucker, who could easily rebound and be a star, but he's going to cost a little bit less than he would if he was having a good year all year long. And you go and you're in on a guy like that. So and they would have that chance this offseason because they would have that full year under their belt. They'd have the same rights as every other MLB team to go after him.
No, I mean,
I think it could work.
It's a progressive. I had this running theme in my brain of we're talking about these athletes coming up. It reminds me so much of the NFL 10 years ago with what baseball is right now, where we're seeing players like these kids that are bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic than we've ever seen before, doing things that were like Ellie De La Cruz would have been a myth 20 years ago. You just said, oh, he's a 6'6" dude, throws a baseball 90-something miles an hour across the diamond and runs like the wind. And, oh, by the way, he hits on both sides of the plate. Huh? But that's kind of it is. That's where we sit. There's crazy levels of talent. I also believe too, it has something to do with the amount of polish with some of these kids, especially high school wise. Maybe Ethan Holiday is a bad comparison. Eli Witt's pretty polished kid from what all the reports I've seen. There's a lot of kids coming out and players, not just in high school, but in college too. Like we saw Cade Anderson for the Mariners and Seth Hernandez, these pitchers are coming in and they're going to be ready to rock in 2 or 3 years. This is like when we were kids, Brandon, if a kid got drafted, all right, we'll see you in 5 years, versus now it's okay, well, if you can ball, you can ball. And if you can ball, you're going to play. So
you look at guys like the Jackson Holidays that were signed out of high school, Roman Anthony specifically. Had Roman Anthony not signed with the Red Sox and went to college, he would have been in the draft again this year.
Yeah.
And he's in the big leagues playing on an 8-year deal now. Like, there are kids from high school that, again, and I mean, you saw it with Griffey.
Mm-hmm.
19-year-old kid comes up and just takes over the league.
Yep. So
it can happen. And so I think the talent is there. I think the ability to do this is there. I'm not saying that those going to be confident to say that those teams are going to stack up against the best that first year. But then again, maybe those young kids, they bond together and make a run. I mean, crazier things have happened. So,
right. I mean, look at the Vegas Golden Knights for the hockey team expansion,
mm-hmm.
literally win the chip the next year.
Yeah. I mean, baseball is one of those sports where it's literally like anything can happen. You can sit here and you can read me all the numbers. You can tell me how chilly a guy's baseball savant page is. I got to see it on the field. I gotta see it on the field. I mean, look at Trevor Story for the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. His savant page is bluer than blue.
Yeah.
Yet he is essentially has been carrying that team at multiple points this year. He leads the team in RBIs, which is crazy. He constantly just hits in those big spots. And just, I mean, we do our W Series Energizer. He's
mm-hmm.
in the lead with 6 of them this year. And his savant page is blue. But he just carries this team time and time again. So, like, and don't get me wrong, I love my statistics. I love diving into the stats and looking at stuff like that. But the product on the field and the eye test still has value.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I call it blink scouting. It still matters.
Yeah. It just, I don't know. Yeah. So I want to see it happen. I have a feeling we're going to see it happen before Rob Manfred's tenure is over in 2029. But let's get ready to wrap this thing up. Dakota, any final thoughts? Any other things you want to touch on quick before we get out of here?
First, just thank you, man, for having me on. Always enjoy our conversations. We trying to do more of these once we get towards playoffs and all that good jazz. I got some content coming up here on my channel at Westside Sports. Check it out on YouTube, all socials as well. And Mariners, thank God, they just tied the ball game 4-4 in Philadelphia in the late innings. Don't know who exactly was pitching, but it was 4-1, and I was nervous.
Yeah, see, and that's the beauty of baseball, is that it makes you nervous no matter how much of it you watch. And like, as I, been cheekily peeking at the Red Sox game this entire time of us recording the podcast, they're now down 3-1 against the Orioles. And I don't necessarily like our chances of coming back because our bullpen has been absolutely atrocious right now. It's
Hey, Brandon, you want to know how beautiful baseball is?
Huh?
Guess who hit that double?
Who?
Gino.
There we go.
Baseball,
Gino's
baby.
Back
It's a beautiful sucker, man. But no, really enjoy the time on here, dude. Always have a good time and a blast. This is going to be a grind, Brandon. You and I, we probably got to do this as at least once a week, especially with the playoffs and the final 30-game push, dude. But I wish you and the Red Sox nothing but the best, dude. I know we're all fighting for the same thing. I got a lot of respect for your boys. I honestly wish we played again before the end of the year. But yeah, damn Phillies, stupid interleague.
So that's the other thing that I want to. My final thought is, Bryce Harper. No, you love him. You were texting me about that the other day, but when you texted me about him, is the league trying to bury this guy? Because I remember 5-10 years ago, Harper was like all the rage.
Yep.
Right. And now it's I barely hear that name anymore, unless unless him getting nose to nose with Rob Manfred. That's and then I was like, oh yeah, Harper is still a thing, right? He's still a dude and he's still fiery. And then I forgot about him again. And then you texted me last night and he's like, I'm like, oh yeah, Bryce Harper is still in the league. And he not only is he still in the league, but he's still going to be in the league for a long time. But it seems like he doesn't get the same kind of like national attention anymore. Obviously, you got guys like Shohei and Ellie De La Cruz and Paul Skeens that have kind of taken over the everyday conversations. But people still talk a decent amount about Mike Trout and Mike Trout's legacy. And Mike Trout was like the guy that came up with Harper. They obviously different teams, but they came up around the same time, similar ages, similar career trajectories to start out. And you still hear about Mike Trout all the time, but I very rarely hear people talk about Harper. Why do you think that is?
I just think Bryce had his spotlight. He had the limelight, when he was young, and he was on the front of Sports Illustrated and was the #1 overall prospect in baseball. Like, he's going to bring and save baseball, all that stuff. What cracks me up, and I hope you clip this, right? People that forget how good Bryce Harper is at baseball will remember once playoff baseball shows up and playoff Harper shows up and he fucking cranks stingers, and that playoff park, and that park is going to rock like it did a couple of years ago. Bryce Harper in the playoffs is one of the scariest things on the planet Earth, man. He's so good.
Yeah, I mean, Harper is insane. I don't, when you look at the stats, I'm like, how is this guy not getting talked about more on a national scale? And like I said, I forget he's in the league. And then I see something and it's like, oh yeah, Bryce Harper is still here. And he's not old man. I mean, he's getting older, but he's not old man Harper yet. He's still very, very good. And it's like, I feel like the league is trying to bury him a little bit secretively. And
I feel the exact same way about Trey Turner.
Yeah,
when he left the Dodgers, I forgot he existed.
Mm-hmm. It's the Phillies, man. You know the Phillies are good, but you forget who's on the Phillies until you look at the Phillies lineup and you're like, yeah, that's why they're good. They've got all these guys. But Thank you for coming on. Don't want to spoil too much, but for all the people out there listening, follow us, subscribe here, get acquainted with Dakota over on his channel too, because Dakota and I have some projects that we're working on launching in the off season that are going to be very, very, very fun.
Yeah.
All I can see is you're going to be seeing a lot more of his face here on this channel as well. Subscribe, hit that like button. Let us know in the comments what you think about the conference idea. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What are your thoughts on Rob Manfred? Is he the greatest commissioner of all time? Is he the worst of all time? Let us know what you think. Start some arguments, debates in the comments, because those help our algorithm. So fight amongst yourselves. Maybe if you say something clever enough, maybe we'll hop in and debate you too. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.